Good evening, everyone, and thank you for taking the time to join us. I'm Kimberley, and as a co-founder of ThriveNow Education, it's my deep privilege to share our vision with you. Today, we're focusing on pillars 2 and 3 of the ThriveNow framework, and what you'll hear today is more on inquiry-led pedagogy, the how of our teaching approach, and also the transdisciplinary curriculum, which is quite a mouthful, which is essentially the what of learning. So, in a world marked by complexity and rapid change, and the rise of AI, of course, we all face some fundamental questions. And the main one for us at the moment is conventional education truly preparing our children for the life they will lead? Now, I'm a mum to 3 primary age children, and I've also been a teacher for several decades. And my view on this, from both being a teacher and also being a parent, is that actually what's on offer at the moment in the majority of schools isn't preparing our children, certainly not what I would want my children to have when they come out of spending that amount of time in school. So for me and us, our feelings, and I'm sure the same is for you since you're all here, is that we must aim for more than just content delivery, which unfortunately is where we're at with most of the school approaches, regardless of whether it's mainstream or independent. So especially in light of how fast AI is infiltrating our world. And when Jerry comes to show you what he and we have been creating, you'll see just how distant and innovative what we're doing is in comparison to just content delivery of an exam curriculum. So our philosophy is based on the belief that academic mastery and profound human well-being are not separate goals. They are one. And I'm sure I'm not the only one here concerned about the pressures that the endless exams and exam stress is putting on our young people. And so what we've really devised is a way that young people can go through the secondary education system, still achieve the GCSEs, or the tokens that they need in order to progress on to A levels and beyond. But more importantly for us, really develop the knowledge, skills, and values that will stand them in good stead to take care of themselves and take care of their local communities as they go into whatever route they choose beyond age 16. So this is the essence of our twin concepts, which is a curriculum of becoming and soulful rigour. A curriculum of becoming prioritises the inner patterns that shape how a student moves through the world. So these are things like their courage, their kindness, and their sense of purpose. This is achieved through soulful rigour, which is the deliberate fusion of deep, critical intellectual inquiry with emotional, ethical, and whole person engagement. So, for example, in maths, it's not just about covering content, it's a practice in critical thinking. And a group project is a test of collaboration and kindness. So, our unique learning ecosystem is built upon strong integrated structure. And we talked more about this last week, the 4 pillars. So we're not going to go into too much detail now. But just for those who might be watching this back as a replay, these aren't separate programs. They're mutually reinforcing framework designed to cultivate confident and self-directed young people. And there's a strong focus there on developing executive functioning skills. So this isn't just about filling heads. This is about really giving children and young people the tools and the skills that they will need in their daily lives, both now and in the future. So in terms of the thriving community, this is kind of the bedrock. We cultivate a profound psychological safety, not just for our young people, but our teachers and also the families that our young people are attached to. And we do that by co-creating agreements. We focus on restorative and trauma-informed practices, which build self-esteem and self-regulation and social skills. And in terms of the hows of the teaching, which is what we're going to be focusing on today, which is inquiry-led pedagogy, this is driven by open-ended and real-world questions that truly matter. So they're not trite, they're not misplaced, they're led not only by the teacher, but also by the young people's interests themselves. This approach strengthens metacognition and planning and flexible thinking, and really sort of embraces ambiguity through working through iterative cycles of discovery. Bear with me. And then if you've got this very relational inquiry-led pedagogy, which is the sort of the how of the teaching, the question then becomes, well, what is the stuff that that we're teaching? If we're not just focusing on exam content, what's there to replace it? So we've really thought long and hard about what is actually useful for young people to learn. For us, that isn't just using subject silos, so teaching subjects by themselves. This is really related to transdisciplinary. So the world isn't split up into subjects. We do that in order to make it easy to teach, but that's not always the best way that children learn. So by connecting knowledge across disciplines, students can then synthesize this information, prioritize tasks, and this in turn deepens cognitive flexibility and their longer term organization. And then finally, the multimodal formative assessment we're actually going to be talking about next week. And so this is more acknowledging that the growth process is not performative. We move away from the kind of conventional end summative grading and focus more on continuous cycles of low stakes feedback, goal setting, which is real and informed both for themselves, developing their own ability to do this, but also knowing who and how to reach out to other professionals that can help them to do that. In turn, this is, develops their intrinsic motivation. So our curriculum is not linear. It's not sort of segmented into different parts in its entirety. It's a living, breathing structure, and we call it the Learning Mandala. And this is something that Jerry's worked really hard on with his many, many years of experience. And we've come in and kind of tweaked and tailored so that this can be accessible to everybody here today. So this mandala is centered and interconnected. It's designed for transformation and for agency, so developing agency, not only for the teacher, but also the young people. Learning is not in a straight line. If we think about how we learn as grown-ups, we come back to it, we circle back to it, it's in cycles. It grows from kind of a central core of human development, allowing each student's journey to be one of authentic becoming. And this is where the relational and connected learning is exemplified. And then at the very heart of this mandala, there are the learning traits. So we've got the kind of the what of what we teach, but also this is about who we are right now and who we are becoming. So these aren't an add-on. These aren't things that we just pop in throughout the day. They're fundamental to the fabric of the teaching and learning. So this will happen across every lesson and is a central part of the community. So we've got curiosity to kindness and critical thinking. These are all the lenses through which we ask what kind of compassion will this call forth, and what kind of courage might this awaken in our young people and in ourselves. So if we just do, I won't kind of talk through all of these, but if we just look at curiosity in terms of, what does that look like in real terms? The young person might ask why an ancient civilization collapsed. I know that my children are constantly asking questions about things that come up out, lost cities and that side of things. And so what we really try to do is encourage them or scaffold them to research independently modern factors like climate change, to connect the past to the present, and demonstrating an authentic internal drive for learning. And we've got kind of examples for all of these that we're happy to send people if they're interested in it, but I won't go into them right now. I think hopefully that gives you a good idea of how it's exemplified. So within that, we're obviously, because we are covering GCSE curriculum as well, what we really want to do is make sure that the learning we do as a transdisciplinary inquiry weaves in the national curriculum content, but in a very real way, as I mentioned at the beginning. And in order to do that, there are these 5 versatile ways of knowing, and these have really been developed as well alongside a group called the Novacene and an amazing human called Kirsten Stevens. And these are really about the human story, which incorporates history and global perspectives. We've then got the knowing world, which is science, maths, and AI. We've got the expressive self, which is arts and language, the designed world, which kind of incorporates tech and innovation, and then the living body, which for me is my favorite, and that's all about kind of somatic well-being and embodied learning. So this structure allows a project on, say, designing a future forest to seamlessly kind of weave together science, the knowing world, debate, the human story, and animation, the expressive self, all while practicing the learner traits like responsibility and collaboration. So just to go in a little bit more detail into those 5 ways of knowing, the human story is to trace the paths of lives before and ask what justice calls us for. This includes history, geography, and global perspectives, as I mentioned, and it focuses on systems, change, power, and ethical awareness. We've then got the knowing world to understand the laws that guide, the patterns hidden deep inside. And this really focuses on inquiry, investigation, data, logic, those sorts of things. And then we've got the expressive self to shape the soul in word and line and share what stirs within. And this really is about development of voice, student voice, perspective, and aesthetic intelligence. And then we've got the designed world to build with care, to shape with thought, the world we need, the change we sought. And really, this is about building, coding, applying knowledge, iterative thinking, first principles, really kind of creating solutions for the world that we live in today. And then finally, the living body, to move with purpose and rest with grace, to care for self in time and space. So this really is focusing on well-being and emphasizing embodied learning, somatic intelligence, and physical expression. So to manage this complex integration, it's a lot of work that's gone on in the background, and still going on in the background, I have to say. We've got 2 key tools that we use, and this kind of enables the soulful rigor. So this is making sure that we're really delivering on what we say we're going to be, and we're making sure that young people have access to the curriculum in its fullness, but also beyond the curriculum, being able to apply that in a very real and very relevant way. So this is the AI Project Weaver. It's something that Jerry has worked really hard on, and we've woven in kind of somatic intelligence and other bits in there too. It's a kind of we think of it as like as our engine of inquiry. I've mentioned it's obviously co-designed with our partners, and what it really enables is not just teachers to do this, but also we're going to be teaching the young people, the students that we work with, to use this Project Weaver themselves, so that they can really personalize and tailor the learning, but also be confident and happy that we're covering, the national curriculum and the Sustainable Development Goals. So this frees our expert teachers to focus on relational practice, mentorship, and deepening the human connection in the classroom. So I'm going to pause there and I'm going to hand over to Jerry. So I'm just going to stop sharing my screen so that he can start sharing his. And he's actually going to show you, the Project Weaver and how it works. So this isn't just kind of a glimpse. We've actually used it to build up quite a few inquiries so that we can demonstrate how we're covering the curriculum. So Jerry, shall I pass over to you?
Yeah, sure.
Amazing.
Let's hope so. Let's see what happens.
Let's see. Yeah.
Here we
Yeah,
go.
fantastic. We're
Can
there.
we see that? Can we?
Yeah, we
Oh,
can
that's
see it.
great. Okay. Touch wood.
Well
Um,
done.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. So as Kimberley says, we've put together this AI-driven or AI-powered tool. Essentially, it's a sort of custom GPT that I've put together, which enables teachers and students to work together to create an interdisciplinary or transdisciplinary project-based learning unit focused on the sustainable development goal of their choice. And the reason behind that really is to try and ensure for this idea of global relevance for our children's education. You know, we're currently in a situation where we have something like 1.5 million young people who are not attending school on a fairly regular basis. So they're voting with their feet. And, you know, they're experiencing an education in many places, which they see as completely outdated for the world that they're going to be facing on a daily basis. Anyhow, so the way this thing works is it asks us a question: are you ready to weave your ThriveNow SDG project? And the answer to that, of course, is yes. And so, Kimberley, would you like to choose one of the 17 sustainable development goals for me, please?
Yeah, I really would. Let's go with reduced inequalities, number 10,
Number
please.
10.
Mm.
Okay.
I feel like I'm on a game show. Number 10, please.
Yes, higher, higher. Okay, so number 10 is going to be the focus of our transdisciplinary or interdisciplinary project. So here we go, number 10. And it's very polite. It keeps telling me that I've made beautiful and brave choices. And by weaving this goal into our project, we invite young people to question systems, uplift unheard voices, and reimagine a world where everyone has a place, a voice, and a chance to thrive. This path calls forth justice, empathy, and bold action. So now onward in our journey. What is the year group or grade level of the students we'll be working on with this project? Well, to start us off, I think we're going to be looking at children aged between about 11 and 13 years of age. Okay, so I'll put that in. And what it's doing at present is it's the initial sort of stages is the sort of logistical part of it, where it's getting the background so that it can ultimately tailor the project to the level of the student that we're working with, and obviously focused on the specific sustainable development goal that we've chosen. And we're given an opportunity to tell the project weaver which country we're working in or which region we might want to work on. So where would you like to focus on, Kimberley?
Oh, crumbs. Well, since the school is going to be in Kingston upon Thames, why don't we put in Kingston upon Thames? We can be
I
that
don't.
localized.
Yeah, why not? Oops.
Yeah, amazing.
Okay, there we go. So again, it's going to now tailor the project to the area of Kingston upon Thames and looking at how we're going to explore reduced inequalities in that area. Step 4, which of the 9 ThriveNow learner traits would you like to focus on? You can choose one or more. You can choose them all if you wish.
I think
Probably a few would be good.
awareness,
Awareness. Okay.
action, and communication.
All right. Sorry, I'm the world's slowest typist, I should say. Okay. Okay, so there we go. And our next step then is, which of the 4 stages of embodied learning would you like to focus on? Again, you can pick 1, 2, 3, or 4.
Yeah, I think, oh, crumbs. Let's go for somatic understanding and emotional literacy and embodied agency and alignment.
Okay, so we'll go for
Mm.
numbers 2 and
Numbers
3.
two and
Yeah.
three.
Okay,
Thanks.
2, yep, and 3. Okay, so all the while it's taking in this information, and it's giving us a tighter and tighter focus for our project. Okay, so step 6 then says, which of the 5 versatile ways of knowing would you like to include in your project? So we're now getting to the stage of looking at the academic subjects that will be addressed, but within the a transdisciplinary approach. So we've got our 5 ways of knowing. Again, you can choose 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5.
Okay, so let's go
Okay.
for uh, the knowing two, the knowing world,
Okay.
and four, the designed world.
All right. Okay. As I say, it's very polite. Excellent choices. So the knowing world, your learners will investigate the structures behind inequality using science, maths, and digital thinking. They'll make sense of systems and patterns of access, impact, and ethics. And within the designed world, they'll imagine and build solutions, creating purposeful designs or technologies that challenge inequality and promote fairness in their communities. Together, these 2 ways of knowing bridge analysis and invention, inviting students to decode the world as it is and reimagine it as it could be. So step 7 then, this is where it enables us to align our subject strands. It's a bit like our learning outcomes, which we call our seeds of change for the ways of knowing that we've chosen. And so for the knowing world, we have inquiry investigation, pattern and structure, logic and reasoning, data and digital thinking, and ethics and implications. And for each one of those strands, there are individual seeds of change or learning outcomes in the traditional sense, and similarly for the designed world. And with these seeds in hand, we're ready to shape the flow of our project. So step 8 then says, how many lessons would you allocate to this project? Kimberley? And
Pardon me. Since our projects are going to be oh crumbs. Um, well, a bit overexcited at that. Since it's going to be across one project across kind of a term and a half, let's go with 12 weeks.
okay,
So let's do 12 lessons, and each lesson will be 90 minutes, 2 hours long. Let's go 90
okay,
minutes.
yeah,
So 12 90-minute lessons. Now, I should say that we aren't going to limit when we do these, when these are in practice. If children and young people are in their flow state and they want to work longer on this, we will extend that. But if they are struggling, then we will shorten it, and we have that flexibility to do that. But it's just so that for the sake of the project weaver, it can give us an indication of its progression, how it's going to progress the young people's learners from session to session.
yeah. Okay, so that's the sort of logistical side of things all taken care of now. And we're now getting into the uh, the interesting part, I think, where we're starting to look at our driving question, which is going to be the heart of our project. And the project weaver provides us with 5 options, of which we can choose one or a combination of one with another, perhaps. Or if we prefer, we can co-create our own custom driving question. But the 5 that it's offering us here, which are related obviously to the SDG number 10, the first one is, what makes a society fair and who decides? How can we use data and design to reduce inequality in our local community? Is technology making the world more equal or more divided? Number 4 is, whose voices are missing in our town and how can we help them be heard? And number 5, how can we reimagine Kingston as a more inclusive place for everyone? So do we have a preference out of those 5, or would we like to co-create another one altogether?
So I'm wondering whether at this stage we pause, because I think it's given everybody a good kind of indication of where it's going. But just to say, with these sorts of questions, like Jerry said, this is, where it gets really exciting, because it means that you've got this overarching direction of travel as a teacher, but as a community, it means you can then start having these inquiries going on where the young people are answering the questions and finding out information to answer those questions and developing the knowledge, skills, and values to answer those questions that feels deeply motivating and personal to them and their small group of friends. So the next step for this would then be, it would help to create lesson plans, lesson outcomes. It would develop the assessment. Jerry and I have been working really hard on alternative ways of assessing young people so that they are in control of it. As I said, we'll talk more about that next week. But it incorporates all of this. And what it does essentially is not only adds agency for the teacher and the learner, but it also saves a significant amount of time for the teacher so that they can really be doing what we said earlier that they're meant to be doing in our perspectives, is looking after the young people and their well-being, and really following their interests. So shall we pause there, Jerry?
Yes, certainly.
And then because we've still got the mastery to show
Oh,
as well.
yes, I'm thinking
Um,
of the time. Okay.
so
Would
I'm
you like me to
gonna,
move on to that, or?
yeah, since you've got control of the screen, let's do it. So alongside this, while Jerry's getting his bits and pieces together, um, alongside this, we're also aware, and I'm aware, I've been a teacher for many years, that there is a curriculum to be covered, and I hate that phrase, a curriculum to be covered. But if young people want to achieve the tokens, if you will, for want of a better word, to get on to the next sort of phase, then they need to take their GCSEs, certainly in the 5 or 6 core subjects for maths, English, double or triple sciences, and we've added design and technology in there. Now, that's the very bleak kind of overview of what needs to be done. But more so than that, there is a genuine love of learning. So, for example, I did not like maths growing up. I really struggled with it. I didn't understand it. And it was only until I met Jerry when he described it, and he's got these amazing maths resources that he's created as well, like really interactive storytelling videos and these interactive maths museums, that I was suddenly like, having a conversation. We're like, wow, I actually like maths and I really love maths. I can't even barely say it. But and so this isn't just about covering content. This is about developing a genuine love and interest in academics. And so transdisciplinary curriculum is great, but we felt there needed to be something as well that got a little bit deeper into the love of the subject. And so that's what Joe's going to turn to now, which is the mastery curriculum. Um, and that goes across all the subjects, and young people have access to that alongside this. So, Jerry, on that note, shall I pass over to you? Is that
Sure, no problem. What can you see on your screen?
we can still sit? You might need to stop and reshare because we're still on
Okay.
the ThriveNow Project Weaver.
Okay. Okay. Crumbs. There we go. This one, I think. There you go.
Hooray. Yep, we're
Yes.
there. Perfect.
Wonderful. Great.
Thank you.
Okay. So this is an example of one of the sort of maths lessons that the children might be exposed to or be involved in learning. And it's a lesson on symmetry and structure, and it's inspired really by a lady called Emmy Noether, who's a famous German mathematician during the time of the Second World War, who actually had major difficulties in being recognised and having her work recognised, just purely down to the fact because she was a lady and not a man. What you'll see is the 5 ways of knowing. We've tried to have this common thread running through not only our project-based work, but also through the individual subject areas that we will be focusing on in the mastery curriculum. So we've still got our 5 ways of knowing, the knowing world, and each of these are sort of collapsible panels. So within the knowing world, we can learn a little bit about the idea of symmetry and the 4 main geometrical transformations. And each of these links here are links to an interactive activity that the children can explore. So for example, if I click on that, can you? Yes, you can. Great. So here we've got an interactive dynamic geometry activity, which looks at the transformation of reflections, geometrical transformation of reflections. And here we've got a square ABCD and our axis of reflection, which is the sort of dotted vertical line here. And we're going to click on the button to show the image of ABCD in that under that reflection in the axis here, and it's important to measure the distances of each point to the axis of reflection and the corresponding image point to the axis of reflection, because what the likes of Emmy Noether was interested in many respects in her work was things which vary and things which stay the same. This is what this little activity is really all about. What are the things that change under a reflection and what are the things that stay the same? And so what we can do is if we look at the images of the points on the image shape versus the distances from the points on the original shape to the axis of reflection, and we see that they are constant. But of course, that might just be for this particular shape in this particular orientation. So if I drag on point B here, I can relocate the square or the orientation of the square. And as I do that, you can see that all the distances are being updated. And so if I stop somewhere and then check the distance from A to L versus the distance from A dash to L, I see they're equal and the same for all the other points. And so what it enables the students to discover is that distance is conserved under the process of geometrical reflection, the transformation of reflection. And you get similar activities with the three other transformations there. And the question each time is what stayed the same and what has changed. And so that's the sort of knowing world part of this lesson. The human story gives us a little bit of information about Emmy Noether. And this is one of the sort of little movies that I've put together.
Mathematics is a cathedral of ideas, and one of its brightest architects was my dear friend, Emmy Noether. Come, let me show you how a young woman from Erlangen changed mathematics forever. She was born in 1882, in a time when girls weren't expected to solve equations.
Emmy. Girls aren't usually mathematicians.
But the numbers don't seem to care, Father.
So we get a little bit of information about Emmy Noether and her struggles. The expressive self is then enabling the children to play with mathematical structure. And there's another little interactivity there for them to look at the properties of mathematical groups through a Cayley table. The designed world, again, looking at symmetry and structure and society. The living body gives them a movement prompt. Mirror a friend's movement exactly, hand gestures, posture, steps, reverse the roles, how did it feel, to reflect. And then there's a final task based on the work of that they've been learning through that particular lesson. And so that gives you a bit of an idea as to the structure of the lessons, how we still get the consistency of the 5 ways of knowing, and we still adopt very much an inquiry-led pedagogy. I think that's probably it for now, Kimberley, if that's all right.
That's amazing. Yeah, Jerry, that's perfect. Thank you so much. And I'll just, I will just complete, bear with me. Here we go. So I'll just complete this little bit, and then I know we've run over, so forgive me, but I will leave a little bit of time just if I go quickly here and then for any questions. So bear with me. So this is just from the Transdisciplinary Curriculum, showing the cross-curricular alignment. And then our mastery curriculum, we've got what Jerry just showed you at the end there. We've got that across basically all of the units of the curriculum. So what it enables the young people to do is not only have their teacher in school helping them to develop and grow, but also they'll have access to this at home so that they can really sort of go back on the things that they didn't understand, or if they're loving it and want to go ahead, they don't have to wait for the teacher or wait for the rest of the class. So it really does enable that flexibility. So that obviously then sort of demonstrates that sort of mastery at ThriveNow is more than a grade. It's like a profound commitment to developing the whole person. Our rubrics measure progress across 3 dimensions, and we'll talk a little bit more about this next week in our assessment pillar. But it's around academic competence. Yes, of course, that's important, but also about ethical disposition, which is character development, and then embodied learning, which is the somatic intelligence and the alignment of your body and your values and how you show up in the world. So that leads us to the end. So thank you for sharing your evening with us. We have an expression of interest form if you would like to fill that in. That's either for that's for parents who want to stay in touch with us. If you're here more in a professional capacity and you're interested in accessing this, or even using talking to us about how you can use this in your school community or your learning community, you can just email us. It's Kimberley@thrivenow.org. We'll put that in the chat in a moment. So bye for now. Bye, everyone. Thank you.